Sit back and enjoy an hour of fascinating facts you didn't know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started.
Penguins often push one of their companions into the water to see if the area is safe and free of predators. This behavior is especially observed in large colonies, where they must avoid leopard seals and orcas, their main predators, which often lurk near the ice, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. In Canada, it is illegal to pretend to perform witchcraft. However, it is completely legal to actually practice witchcraft. The law prohibits pretending to have supernatural powers with the intention of defrauding or deceiving someone, but it does not punish personal beliefs or spiritual practices carried out without fraud or harm. The solitaire game that comes with all Windows computers was developed by an intern named Wes Cherry, who never received royalties for his creation despite it being one of the most used programs of all time. Singing in the shower can make you burn an extra 20 calories per song, depending on the volume and tone of your voice. This happens because singing activates the muscles of the diaphragm, chest, and abdomen, and requires greater breath control, which slightly increases the body's energy expenditure. There are more lion statues in the world than real lions. We want fewer statues and more lions, please. It is estimated that fewer than 25,000 wild lions remain in Africa, mainly due to habitat loss, conflicts with humans, and illegal hunting. Just a century ago, their population was much larger. If you drink a glass of water, it is almost 100% certain that at least one of the molecules in that water has passed through or been part of a dinosaur at some point. Lice do not fly or jump. They spread through head-to-head contact or through clothing or combs that contain these insects, which cannot survive long if they do not live in someone's hair. If a person never cuts their hair in their entire life, by old age their hair would reach 450 miles long. Rapunzel has nothing on that. If a bee returns to the hive intoxicated, the guard bees at the entrance will not allow it inside until the effect wears off. These guard bees detect the smell of alcohol and block the entrance to protect the colony from dangerous or disorganized behavior. It is possible to manufacture bulletproof glass that breaks on one side but not on the other, allowing someone to shoot from inside. This is achieved using special layers that absorb impact in one direction, a technology known as one-way transparent armor, although it is complex, expensive, and uncommon. The tongues of giraffes are as strong as elephant trunks. They use them to break branches and measure about 20 inches long. They are also dark and tough, which protects them from the sun and from thorns while feeding on trees such as acacias. Samsung has a robot shaped like human buttocks to test the durability of its phones. It even wears jeans and is designed to simulate keeping phones in the back pocket, as many people do. The small extra pockets in denim jeans were originally designed to store pocket watches that were commonly used in the previous century. The pockets remained, but the watches did not. Sergei Bubka, a pole vault athlete, broke the world record 14 times by the smallest possible margin on purpose over a period of 2 years. He did this because he had a contract with the brand Nike that gave him a bonus each time he broke the world record. According to a study, almost half of people have trouble remembering where they parked their car. It happens to 51% of women and 41% of men. The first Iron Man movie was originally going to be made by New Line Cinema for release in 2006, but delays caused the rights to return to Marvel. If that had not happened, the Marvel Cinematic Universe would not exist. Facebook creates shadow profiles of people who have not yet registered on the site, using information from their friends' contacts, such as emails, phone numbers, photos, and addresses. That means that even if you do not have Facebook, they already have you identified. Actors such as Julia Roberts, Hugh Jackman, Chris Hemsworth, and Natalie Portman refuse to live in Los Angeles because they prefer other cities where they can live more peacefully, even though Los Angeles is where most filming and auditions take place, and where most Hollywood actors live. One of the most coveted jobs in Venice is being a gondolier. There are only 425 licenses available, and applicants must be native Venetians. Those selected must complete 400 hours of training before they can begin working. When United States President Dwight Eisenhower visited Japan in 1960, the government called Yakuza leaders to lend thousands of their men to serve as bodyguards and security personnel. Donkeys can be used to protect livestock. They attack intruders by instinct, kicking and biting them, and they can be much braver than they seem. They have a strong territorial instinct and can confront coyotes, dogs, and even mountain lions, which is why many farmers use them to protect sheep and goats. The province of Alberta, Canada, is the only place in the world where it is legal to throw coins at exotic dancers. If you are somewhere else, please do not do it. In the 1970s, red M&Ms were removed because health risks were reported in the dye they used. As a result, a student named Paul Hedman created an organization called the Society for the Restoration and Preservation of Red M&Ms. It became very famous and eventually contributed to the return of the red candies to the packages. The reported risk of the dye turned out to be false. Writer Anthony Burgess wrote the famous book A Clockwork Orange in 3 weeks just to earn some quick money. Over time, and thanks to Stanley Kubrick's movie, it became an icon of popular culture. According to the famous chef Gordon Ramsay, the 5 dishes everyone should learn to cook are a great burger, a good breakfast, a braised meat dish, a chicken dish, and a delicious cake. If you have trouble remembering phone numbers or the birthdays of people close to you, it is not that you are a bad person. It is that you suffer from digital amnesia, which is forgetting information that you can easily access through your phone or computer, making us more dependent on these devices. Still, thanks Facebook for reminding us of birthdays, even if that is all you are good for. Project Orion consisted of building spacecraft and sending rockets into space using nuclear explosions as the main fuel. The United States government seriously considered carrying it out in the 1950s and the 1960s, but in the end they did not because nuclear bombs had to be used. When he was 17 years old, Steven Spielberg made an 8mm movie about UFOs called Firelight. He sent 2 copies to a studio to look for work, but later discovered that the studio no longer existed. It was now a parking lot. Those film copies were lost. Now only 4 minutes of the movie remain. If you are 45 years old or older, the world population has doubled since you were born. In 1980, there were around 4,400,000,000 people, and today there are more than 8 billion, thanks to advances in medicine, food, and better living conditions. There are fonts that help save ink, such as Ryman Eco, and they are promoted as environmentally friendly fonts. However, it was discovered that the difference compared to other fonts is very small. The suits astronauts use for spacewalks require 5,000 hours to manufacture when combining the work of everyone involved, and they also cost between $12 and $15 million each. In 2003, when the music industry feared being heavily affected by piracy, Madonna leaked her new album with a repeating voice message saying, "What the hell do you think you are doing?" for those attempting to pirate it. In response, a hacker uploaded the real album to his website and added the message, "This is what I think I am doing." Those were different times. In 2012, Turkish archaeologists discovered what may be the oldest meme in the world, a 2,000-year-old mosaic showing a very relaxed skeleton reclining with wine and bread around it, and the inscription, "Be cheerful, live your life." The oldest personal letter still preserved was written by an Egyptian soldier named Abbasi approximately 4,500 years ago. Among other matters, he complains about the poor quality of the uniforms. According to an anti-piracy monitoring company, 90% of the people who watched Game of Thrones did so illegally. For example, the first episode of the 7th season was pirated by 182 million people. Only 16 million watched it legally. Your brain is capable of making a decision seconds before you realize you are making one. Studies have shown that brain activity can anticipate a choice before the person becomes consciously aware of it, suggesting that the process begins unconsciously. 9-time Olympic swimming champion Mark Spitz told the Russians in 1972 that his mustache helped him reach higher speeds in the water because it kept water away from his mouth. Obviously, he said it as a joke, but the following year, the entire Russian team had mustaches. Tesla cars have a bioweapon defense mode that purifies the air and keeps harmful particles outside the vehicle in case such an event occurs. Recently, during the California wildfires, many people avoided smoke intoxication thanks to these cars. The sales website eBay reported that due to the popularity of Fortnite, sales of gaming headphones and computer monitors increased by 35%. Only 1/4 of the total surface of the Sahara Desert is covered with sand. The rest is gravel or regular ground. Additionally, it is not the largest desert in the world. That record belongs to Antarctica. In 2010, a professor at the University of Kansas followed a diet based on Twinkies, Oreos, and Doritos, pure junk food, just to demonstrate to his students that the most important thing for losing weight was counting calories and achieving a calorie deficit. He lost 26 pounds in 2 months. But if you want to try something like that, consult an expert first. Do not try it at home. Dave Grohl, former drummer of Nirvana and singer of Foo Fighters, has tried to live modestly and avoid overspending since the day he saw his mother have a panic attack while doing her taxes. The Three Gorges Dam in China is so large that it has reduced the Earth's rotation time by 0.06 microseconds. This is because its enormous mass of water slightly changes the distribution of the planet's weight, an effect similar to a figure skater changing speed by moving their arms. The first trailer shown in a movie theater was projected in 1912 and was used to promote a Broadway show. They are called trailers because they originally appeared at the end of films, like the trailers that are pulled behind vehicles. Now the name no longer makes sense because they appear before the movie begins. People who hug too much or stay cuddled for long periods of time can become addicted, and after being separated for just a few hours, may experience withdrawal symptoms. In Australia, hawks and kites pick up burning sticks from wildfires and carry them to the burrows of their prey to burn the grass and force them out so they can hunt them. In 1982, a company called Italdesign introduced a modular car called Capsule, in which the cabin could be completely replaced to turn it into a totally different type of vehicle. It could be converted into a crane, an ambulance, or a regular family car. But apparently nobody paid attention to the idea because it remained only a prototype. It could have completely changed the automobile industry. Octopuses can lay up to 56,000 eggs at once, and when they hatch, the baby octopuses are about the size of a grain of rice. The first word spoken by Apollo 12 commander Pete Conrad when he arrived on the moon was "Yippee." He did it to win a bet with an Italian journalist who said NASA gave astronauts a script of what to say when arriving on Earth's natural satellite. In 1946, Canada sent 50 beavers to Argentina, but they multiplied, and today that number has reached 100,000. They have become a problem for forests in the South American country. It is estimated that the audience attending video game music concerts is twice as large as those attending traditional music concerts such as Beethoven's, which I would say is not so bad because video games have excellent music. Thanks to new three-dimensional printing technology, NASA can now send tools by mail to the International Space Station that can be manufactured in just a few hours, whereas before they had to be sent physically and the mission could take months. In the early days of Amazon, when they only sold books, they did not have inventory. Every time someone made a purchase, Amazon bought the book directly from a distributor, and when it arrived, they repackaged it and sent it out. They did this with every book. But since distributors only shipped orders of 10 units, they used a trick. They ordered the book they wanted, along with 9 copies of a book they knew was out of stock, which forced the distributor to send only the one available book. Who would have thought they would become one of the largest companies in the world? Tepache is a fermented drink originating from pre-Columbian times in Mexico, made from pineapple rinds and sweetened with piloncillo. Due to its preparation, it contains only 1% alcohol. Today, it is still a popular drink that you can find at street stands or taco shops. There are 1,311 people living in Verkhoyansk, Russia, a city where the average temperature in January is minus 49 degrees Fahrenheit and is frequently attacked by packs of wolves. But if you look at the bright side, they do not need to buy refrigerators for their homes, and the beer is always cold. I mean, you have to stay optimistic. Writer Guy de Maupassant hated the Eiffel Tower so much that he promised to have lunch every day at the cafe beneath it, because it was the only place in Paris where he did not have to see it. In the early years of the Eiffel Tower, there were even petitions signed to prevent its construction. Approximately 1 out of every 4 injuries athletes suffer involve the wrist or hand. This is especially common in sports such as basketball, tennis, and gymnastics, where the hands absorb frequent impacts and support much of the physical effort. The city of London, England, reached again the population number it had before World War II in January 2015. The Chicago Cubs baseball team won the World Series in 2016, but before that, their last championship occurred in 1908, when the Ottoman Empire still existed. The Ottoman Empire would continue to exist until 1922, when it was replaced by the Republic of Turkey. Of all the fruits in the bromeliad plant family, pineapples are the only edible and widely popular ones. This family includes thousands of species, but the pineapple is the only one cultivated on a large scale for food and consumed worldwide for its sweet taste and nutritional value. In California, United States, it is legal to break a car window and enter a vehicle if there is a dog inside in danger of heat stroke. Please do not leave your dogs in the car during the day. Even if it does not feel very hot, it is very hot for them. Do not do it. On the coast of Australia, there is an island where a pair of dogs protect a colony of small penguins that was constantly threatened by foxes. Since the arrival of the dogs, the penguin population increased from only 10 to 200. We do not know for certain how the moon formed, but one of the most accepted theories is that a planet or very large asteroid collided with Earth millions of years ago, ejecting material that later combined to form the moon. Samples from the Apollo missions have shown that the moon's composition is very similar to that of Earth. Mickey Mouse and many animated characters from early cartoons wear gloves because it makes their hands easier to animate. Additionally, Walt Disney stated that gloves were used to make the character appear more human, since mouse hands would have looked strange. Hitting devices to make them work again, something we have all done at some point, is called percussive maintenance, and apparently in some cases it does work. It can help when there are loose internal connections, since the impact temporarily puts them back in place, although it is not a permanent solution. Skyhook was a method designed to lift a person from the ground using an airplane without landing. For the first tests, they used a pig, but the test did not go very well, and the animal spun uncontrollably in the air. When they finally brought it into the airplane, it attacked the entire crew. In 1904, a Swedish sailor named Carl Pettersson was shipwrecked on an island in Papua New Guinea inhabited by cannibal tribes. He was captured and sent to the king, but the king's daughter, the princess, fell in love with him. Later, they married, and he became the king of the island. Not foolish at all. In Saudi Arabia, women cannot enter public swimming pools. They can only swim in private places and in women-only spas and gyms. Like most mammals with legs, cats have only 4 toes on their back paws, despite having 5 on their front paws. It is believed this helps them run faster. Picasso's painting, The Painter, was destroyed when an airplane crashed off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada in 1998. Only a fragment a few centimeters wide was recovered. Natalie Portman was studying psychology at Harvard while filming the Star Wars prequel trilogy movies. For example, she filmed her scenes in Attack of the Clones during her summer vacation after finishing her first year. Firefighters use special chemicals to make water wetter. Although it may sound strange, this helps water spread more easily over objects and extinguish fires faster. In 2017, McDonald's attempted to create bubblegum-flavored broccoli in one of its many efforts to make healthier food for children. But in early tests, it was not well received. The flavor confused people. In Japan, there is a popular television show called My First Errand, where small children are sent to perform normal tasks such as going to the store to buy something for the first time while being secretly filmed by a production crew. While strawberries are not berries, watermelons and avocados are. Additionally, cherimoyas are a multiple berry fruit, meaning they are formed from many berries that fuse together. Bananas grow upside down from how we are used to seeing them. The bottom part actually always faces the sky, and their distinctive curve occurs because they grow toward the sun. The television network CBS added bird sounds during golf broadcasts to avoid awkward silence, until someone in the audience noticed because the bird sounds used did not match the birds that lived in the location where the competition was taking place. Chex Quest was the first video game that was included for free in a cereal. It appeared as a prize in Chex cereal in 1996. Percy Spencer, the first person to invent a metal box that heats food using electromagnetic waves, now known as the microwave oven, received only $2 for his creation. The company he worked for registered the patent. At the opening ceremony of the 1936 Olympic Games, Haiti and Liechtenstein realized they had the same flag. The following year, Liechtenstein added a crown to its flag to differentiate them. That must have been quite awkward. Writer Mark Twain, who loved traveling, once said that the most pleasant and charitable aspect of people cannot be acquired by staying in one small corner of the earth, because travel is fatal to prejudice, intolerance, and narrow-mindedness. The wedge-tailed eagle, the largest bird of prey in Australia, is so territorial that it can attack helicopters and small airplanes to defend its nests. It can reach a wingspan of more than 6 feet, and has extremely strong talons capable of exerting great pressure when gripping its prey. Fax machines, which are now seen as obsolete technology, were invented much earlier than most people realize. The first fax was patented in 1843, when the telegraph was still in use. Pringles have their characteristic shape, so they can be placed in their cylindrical containers. At least that is what the company says. But in reality, that shape is also designed to produce the maximum amount of crunching sound when bitten, since one of the most important aspects of chips for consumers is the crunch they make. When penicillin was discovered, it was tested on mice instead of guinea pigs. If it had been tested on guinea pigs, it might have been discarded because those rodents are allergic to penicillin. This decision has saved millions of lives. Frigate birds can fly continuously for 185 days without landing, traveling more than 31,069 miles. They can also glide for more than 40 minutes without flapping their wings even once. According to older generations, millennials are about to cause the disappearance of industries as large as banks, cable television, beer, processed cheese, and even real estate. But I believe it has more to do with those industries failing to adapt to change. In Singapore, so few crimes are committed that many stores do not bother locking their doors overnight because nothing gets stolen. This is due to strict laws, constant surveillance, and low crime rates, making it one of the safest cities in the world. In a Lego store in the Czech Republic, they built a giant Star Wars ship made of 5.3 million pieces that measures 43 feet, weighs 25 short tons, and required 17,300 hours of work to complete. Yoda, the famous Star Wars character known for being a green Jedi Master with large ears and strange speech, was originally going to be portrayed by a monkey wearing a mask. They even hired the same monkey experts who worked on 2001: A Space Odyssey. Obviously, the plan did not work. This statue called Spaceship Earth, which cost $1 million and weighs 193 short tons, was designed to last more than 1,000 years according to the artist who made it, but it broke just 3 months later. According to the Corruption Perceptions Index, New Zealand, followed by Denmark, are the least corrupt countries in the world. A Russian boy named Ivan Mishakov was raised by a pack of dogs from age 4 to 6. When he was found and police tried to separate him from the dogs, they defended him and did not allow him to be taken until authorities finally managed to do so by distracting the dogs with food. The Eiffel Tower was opened to the public for the first time the same year the company Nintendo was founded, in 1889. At that time, Nintendo manufactured traditional Japanese playing cards. To protect wild creatures, snake charming was banned in India in a law that has been in effect for more than 25 years. New generations are not interested in that tradition, and apparently, it has remained only as a stereotype of that country. There are weighted blankets that can help people fall asleep more easily. If you have trouble sleeping, try one of those. They work by applying gentle and constant pressure that relaxes the nervous system, reduces stress, and can improve sleep quality in many people. In Russia, an experiment has been taking place for many years that selectively breeds foxes in order to domesticate them. After several generations, these foxes have developed changes, such as improved social abilities, larger ears, curlier tails, and skeletal changes, traits that make them more appealing to humans. Just like dogs, which now look very cute even though they were once wolves. When Mitsubishi wanted to create an exhibition and display the first car they ever manufactured, they realized none of the 22 original units still existed. They had to build a replica based on photographs. The famous theme song of the show The X-Files was created almost by accident when composer Mark Snow rested his arm on the keyboard while the echo effect was turned on. The producers liked the eerie tone of the effect, so they kept it. Actress Kate Mara always has a clause in her movie contracts that allows her to attend the Super Bowl if the Steelers or the Giants reach it, because her mother's family owns the Steelers and her father's family owns the Giants. Those family discussions must be interesting. In 1952, a double-decker bus was crossing Tower Bridge in London, England, when suddenly the process to raise the bridge failed. The driver had quick enough reflexes to accelerate and successfully cross to the other side with a spectacular jump. In the end, the consequences were only a few scratches and a scare, and the driver received a 10-pound bonus for saving everyone. There are more people of Lebanese descent in Brazil than in Lebanon. It is estimated that millions of Brazilians have Lebanese ancestry as a result of multiple migration waves since the 19th century, influencing the country's culture, cuisine, and business. Former United States President Barack Obama has won more Grammy Awards than Katy Perry. Somehow, Obama has two, and Perry has zero. Just 1 year after the moon landing in 1969, people had already lost interest in space exploration. And in a survey that was conducted, 90% of people no longer remembered who Neil Armstrong was, the first man to walk on the moon. Cellist Yo-Yo Ma once left his 280-year-old cello, valued at $2,500,000, in a New York taxi. Fortunately, he recovered it later. When you look at something blue, your brain releases calming hormones. That is why this color is said to have a relaxing effect. This color is often associated with the sky and water, which can reduce heart rate and create a sense of calm in many people. Adolphe Sax, the inventor of the saxophone, survived a fall from 3 floors, a gunpowder explosion, and falling into a raging river, among other things, all before turning 9 years old. Mollusks are the second most numerous living beings on planet Earth. Insects are in first place. This group includes snails, clams, octopuses, and squids, and has more than 80,000 known species adapted to oceans, rivers, and also humid land environments. The person who invented the stop sign, the pedestrian crossing, the one-way street, and other traffic aids for cities, William Phelps Eno, ironically never learned how to drive. The first modern ventriloquist remembered was Baron von Mengers, a lieutenant colonel of the Austrian Imperial Army who lived in Vienna in the second half of the 18th century. The optical illusion you are seeing is called the McCullough effect. It is so powerful that simply observing it for 10 minutes under certain tone configurations can cause you to hallucinate different colors that are not there for up to a month, according to scientific studies. English is the universal language of aviation. All pilots must learn to speak it regardless of their country of origin. This is done to avoid any type of confusion. If you wanted to recreate the Lego movie using real pieces, you would need 15,080,330 blocks. If you built a tower with those pieces, it would measure 93 miles. Some heartbroken singles in Shanghai, China, once bought all the seats that were not even numbered in movie theaters, so couples could not sit together on Valentine's Day. The movie The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, and it won all of them. This achievement made it one of the most awarded movies in history, and tied the record for the most Oscars won by a single film. The turkeys people eat are not like the wild ones. They are actually a domesticated breed created specifically to have more meat. It is called the broad-breasted white turkey. Because of its body shape, it cannot reproduce naturally and requires human assistance. A study of 85 dog breeds concluded that Chow Chows and Shiba Inus are the dogs that share the most characteristics and are most closely related to wolves. The United States would have adopted the metric system if the French scientist Joseph Dombey had arrived safely to help President Thomas Jefferson persuade Congress to change the system of measurement. However, Joseph Dombey had some trouble with pirates, so he never arrived. That is why the United States still uses ounces and miles and all that. 50% of Netflix users watch an entire season of a show in just 1 week or less. Among them are those who watch an entire show in a single day, without sleeping, which is not good for health or productivity, so do not try that at home either. The Amazon River releases so much fresh water into the Atlantic Ocean that it can be drunk 186 miles from the coast. This happens because it is the river with the highest flow rate on the planet, releasing around 7,062,933 cubic feet of water per second and forming a massive freshwater plume visible from space. If all the train routes in China were connected and placed in a straight line, they would circle the Earth twice. Much of that length comes from its high-speed rail network, the largest in the world, which connects hundreds of cities and transports millions of passengers every day. Komodo dragons can eat 80% of their body mass in just a few minutes. For us, that would be equivalent to eating 260 Big Macs at lunchtime. The island of Flevopolder in the Netherlands did not exist 100 years ago. It is the largest artificial island in the world, with more than 193 square miles of area. It was built to prevent flooding and to create more arable land. Now it is home to more than 350,000 people. Omochiro, or fun notepads, reveal a different traditional Japanese monument as you remove the pages. They are very popular in that country. Sensitive plants, also known as Mimosa pudica or shame plants, close when they feel even the slightest touch to protect themselves. This movement occurs within seconds thanks to changes in the internal pressure of their cells and helps make them less appealing to herbivores. Google image search was created after Jennifer Lopez wore a dress at the Grammy Awards in 2000. It became the most popular search of all time on Google at that moment. But there was no image search, so they created one. The most expensive television commercial ever made was an advertisement for Chanel No. 5 perfume starring actress Nicole Kidman. It cost $30 million to produce. Michel Ferrero, the inventor of Kinder Eggs, Nutella, and Ferrero Rocher, protected the secret recipes of these products so carefully that he claimed even the recipe for Coca-Cola was known by more people than the one for his hazelnut and chocolate sweets. In 2012, a teenager drank a beverage containing liquid nitrogen that he was given for his birthday at a bar in England, but he drank it without waiting for the dangerous substance to evaporate. He had to be treated urgently, and the bar had to pay a fine of £100,000. Two brothers in Russia deceived a prison by switching places so that the one who was incarcerated could have some time of freedom, but instead of returning, the one who escaped ran away with his brother's girlfriend, leaving his brother in prison until years later when authorities discovered the entire story. The largest comic book collection is located in the Library of Congress of the United States, with 120,000 different editions, while the largest private collection belongs to Pop Retail with a little over 100,000. In India, there are 6 seasons of the year: spring, summer, monsoon, autumn, dry season, and winter. That is how they divide them. It is not because the climate is actually different in that part of the world. If Lara Croft, the protagonist of the famous video game Tomb Raider, were a real person, she would now be 51 years old, since, according to her creators, she was born on February 14, 1968. When you observe something pleasant, your pupils can dilate by up to 45%. This also happens when you see someone you like. In 2013, police in the Maldives arrested a coconut that was lying near an administrative center for that country's presidential elections. Locals believed it was cursed and had been placed there to alter the outcome of the event. Peter Dinklage, who played Tyrion Lannister in the series Game of Thrones, is a vegetarian, and every time he appeared eating meat in the show, it was actually tofu painted or specially prepared. In the city of Larkhall, in Scotland, they hate the color green so much that it is almost impossible to find it there. Even Subway restaurants are black. This is due to differences in beliefs and football rivalries. The famous pyramids of Egypt were close to being dismantled 180 years ago. Their blocks were going to be used to build dams on the Nile River. Fortunately, the project leader saved them by submitting a false expense report stating that dismantling them was not worth it. Tea bags were created by accident by the seller Thomas Sullivan in 1908, who distributed tea samples in small bags. His customers, instead of opening them, dropped them directly into the water, and it became the most popular way to prepare this drink. Off the coast of South Africa, there are about 3,000 sunken ships, and all of them are protected by law to prevent looting. Many come from dangerous historical trade routes, and today they are considered historical heritage and also serve as habitats for marine species. 60% of average people tell 2 to 3 lies during a normal conversation of just 10 minutes. I think lying is more common than it seems. In 1900, 38% of all automobiles in the world, which were not many, were completely electric. According to a study, our love for shiny things comes from the evolutionary instinct to search for water to survive. Shiny surfaces reflect light similarly to water, so our ancestors may have associated them with safe sources of hydration, improving survival. Avatar looks strangely similar to a comic published by Marvel in the 1980s called Time Spirits, which was printed for only a short time. Life in New England, when the colonists first arrived in what would become the United States, was so difficult that when Native Americans captured and took members of the colony, including children, sometimes they did not even want to return. Compulsive eating due to stress is actually a myth. A study found that the more stressed a person feels, the less likely they are to eat for reasons other than hunger. The National Museum of Anthropology and History in Mexico City, where the famous Sunstone or Aztec calendar is located, was founded in 1825. But it was remodeled in the 1960s into the form we know today. The economy of the state of California in the United States is larger than that of the entire United Kingdom. The exhibition of the Mona Lisa has caused it to lose color intensity. A copy of the Mona Lisa, painted by a direct student of Leonardo da Vinci, has remained stored and shows the colors almost unchanged. The Speedo LZR swimsuit is designed to emulate shark skin, and it turned out to be so effective that it was banned in professional swimming because it helped swimmers break 24 world records at the 2008 Olympic Games. 75% of silent films made in the early years of cinema have been permanently lost due to poor preservation, fires, or simply because people stopped caring about them. There is a phone line, or at least there used to be one, where filmmakers could call to ask for science advice to help make movies realistic and avoid false information. The Persian Gulf is the warmest sea in the world, reaching summer temperatures above 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Its shallow depth and the intense desert heat cause the water to warm quickly and retain high temperatures for long periods. Psychologist Laszlo Polgar claimed that any child could become a genius and a prodigy at anything if given intensive early training. As part of his experiment, he trained his daughters to play chess starting at age 4. All three became experts, and the youngest, Judith, is considered to this day the greatest female chess player of all time. Manufacturing and distributing Yellow Pages phone directories produces 1,543,235 short tons of greenhouse gases and consumes 661,387 short tons of paper each year. Monkeys can learn to use money. When capuchin monkeys were taught to exchange silver discs for food, they began saving to buy the food they liked most. They also bought larger amounts when the price dropped and even started gambling, and there were problems involving the theft of money. They are so similar to us. Actor Ewan McGregor, who played Obi-Wan in the Star Wars prequels, has a brother who is a pilot in the British Armed Forces. His name is Colin McGregor, and his call sign is Obi-2. If he had another brother in the forces, he would be called Obi-3. Mexico currently has 68 official languages recognized by UNESCO. Many of them were until recently considered dialects, such as Mixtec, Zapotec, Tarahumara, and Maya. The country of Iceland is so safe that sometimes parents leave their babies in their strollers on the streets so they can sleep for a while the parents go shopping. This practice is also related to the local belief that cold air strengthens the immune system and helps babies sleep better. Cherry seeds are poisonous, but you would need to eat approximately 70 for it to seriously affect you. They contain amygdalin, a substance that can release cyanide when crushed or digested. Although in small amounts, the body can usually neutralize it without serious consequences. In a small region of Australia, you can find these mini kangaroos, or marsupials called quokkas, which are very friendly and seem to be smiling and having a great time all the time. If this does not cheer you up, then I do not know what will. Bruce Lee was convinced that he would lose in a fight against Muhammad Ali, referring to his small Chinese hands, according to him. But I believe he would have won quickly. He was just being very modest. If you lived in a basement your entire life, you would have lived 90,000 billionths of a second longer than someone living on the surface. This is because the closer you are to the center of the Earth, the stronger gravity is. And the stronger gravity is, the slower time moves. But since the difference is almost imperceptible, it is not a good idea to live in a basement forever. So do not try it. A man from Germany drove the same car for more than 497,097 miles across 177 countries on a trip that lasted 26 years. His wife accompanied him for much of the journey, during which he practically visited the entire world. That is one durable car. In Germany, during medieval times, married couples could legally resolve their disputes by engaging in a marital duel, in which the man had to be buried up to his waist and had one arm tied, while the woman could use a bag filled with stones. In 1952, there was an equivalent to IMAX format projections. This method was called Cinerama and consisted of projecting 3 parts of the same film onto a giant curved screen. However, it stopped being used in 1962 because it required 3 film reels running simultaneously in perfect synchronization, which was very difficult to achieve. Whales can consume up to 500,000 calories in a single bite, mainly from krill, which are small crustaceans similar to shrimp. Wild dogs and wolves only bark when they are very young. The barking of domestic dogs today was one of the traits favored generation after generation, so they would be more communicative, funnier, and less aggressive. When sharks bite, their eyes roll upward at the same time their teeth extend. This helps protect their eyes during the attack while their jaws project forward, allowing them to bite with greater reach and force. After the opening weekend of the movie Frozen, flights from the United States to Norway increased by 153%. 3 times more people traveled to the Nordic country thanks to the film. Avocados were originally called alligator pears in the United States. Apparently, that was considered a better name than avocado or aguacate. Of course, the name was later changed. Black olives do not occur naturally. They are actually regular green olives that have been allowed to ripen. This is usually done through a process in which they are cured with brine and then treated with salt and compressed air. In the Middle Ages, European kings had people who recorded everything: the number of grain sacks, the number of soldiers, and similar matters. These experts were called notaries, and that is exactly where the word we use today comes from. Until before the 18th century, there were specialized soldiers called grenadiers, whose job consisted exclusively of throwing grenades. Later, the role lost popularity, and the grenadiers were reassigned as regular soldiers. Kleenex tissues were originally made as a substitute for cotton to be used in filters for old gas masks during the war, but when the war ended, they were repurposed as disposable tissues. Popcorn sold in movie theaters has an average markup of 1,257%, meaning they earn 1,000 times more than the cost of buying the corn and making it. The Casorso Doubletree, located in Italy, is unique because, as its name suggests, it is 2 trees in one: a cherry tree growing on top of a mulberry tree. SpongeBob lives in a pineapple under the sea because pineapples are commonly used in Polynesian crafts. Additionally, creator Steven Hillenburg mentioned that SpongeBob would love the pineapple smell of his home, since smell is one of the most important senses for marine animals. There is a website called fakeupdate.net where you can display a fake update screen or a fake Windows blue screen on your computer. It has keyboard shortcuts so you can switch quickly and no one questions what you are looking at during work. In Scotland, there are 421 different words used to describe snow, such as snizzle when snow begins to fall, fizzle when there is windy snow, or flinching drinking when there is very little snow. Natural vanilla pollination can only occur in Mexico because the process is carried out by a species of bee that exists only in that country. That is why most vanilla consumed today is pollinated directly by humans. If it were naturally pollinated, it would cost more than gold. At its peak, around 2000, Blockbuster earned more than $800 million from late return fees. That was more than 16% of its total revenue. Rice does not need to grow in water, but since it is not harmed by it, farmers use this flooding technique to better protect it from pests. Nintendo popularized the term video game console so that people would stop calling competing systems Nintendos and prevent the name from becoming generic. NASA scientists say that when dinosaurs lived on Earth, there were still active volcanoes on the moon with flowing lava fields. The town of Bat Cave in North Carolina, United States, constantly has to put up new signs because people like to take them. It is the town's fault for having that name. The city that holds the record for being destroyed the most times in movies is New York City. This is because it is one of the most recognizable cities in the world, and its iconic skyline makes it the ideal setting for disaster and action scenes. It has been demonstrated that creating any type of art helps reduce stress hormones in people, regardless of skill level. So if you want to reduce stress, start painting or making a sculpture or something like that. According to studies, having the habit of exercising can lead people to develop other good habits, even unrelated ones, such as using credit cards less. This is because exercise strengthens self-discipline and self-control, skills that also influence financial decisions and other daily behaviors. The Slav squat pose, which has many memes, is a behavior learned from prison culture in Russia, perfect for avoiding sitting on the floor or on very cold surfaces. Wearing Adidas clothing is optional. Starfish have filtered seawater in their bodies instead of blood. They use a water vascular system that moves water to transport nutrients, oxygen, and waste, and also helps them move in open shells using the hydraulic pressure of their tiny tube feet. Glitter was invented by a farmer in the United States in 1934 who was exploring ways to dispose of leftover plastic by shredding it. In Egypt, they are building a city that will become the new capital. It will have an intelligent traffic system and a park larger than Central Park in New York. It has not yet been given a name. I suggest Cairo 2 in 3 dimensions. Studies indicate that rats dream about finding food or running through mazes. All mammals enter the rapid eye movement sleep stage, and therefore all mammals dream. So follow your dreams. If you spray window cleaner like Windex on a fly, it will become stunned and fall, making it easier to release it outside the house. When you are stressed, your brain literally heats up. To cool it down, it is enough to smile for a moment or relax. This happens because stress increases brain activity and blood flow, while relaxation helps reduce tension and restore balance. For more than 2 weeks, Great Britain shut down its coal-powered plants, generating energy with other, more environmentally friendly alternatives. These coal shutdown periods will happen more frequently. Children in the United States with parents from Samoa are 56 times more likely to be selected for the NFL than any other child. In the early 1960s, the original program, The Price is Right, gave away prizes such as an airplane, a submarine, a swimming pool, and a house in Florida. The Mosul Dam in Iraq is considered the most dangerous dam because it is built on an unstable gypsum foundation. If it failed and collapsed, it could flood the entire city of Baghdad. In 1800, there were more than 60 million bison in North America. 100 years later, in 1900, only 300 remained due to uncontrolled hunting. A few ranchers saved the species from total extinction. Now, there are 500,000, but most are hybrids mixed with other species. Manatees control their buoyancy using a technique that consists of retaining and releasing gases. They also adjust the amount of air in their lungs, which are very long and extend along their bodies, allowing them to rise or sink in the water with great precision without using much energy. The German word Backpfeifengesicht has no equivalent in any other language and means a face that needs a good punch or slap. A law has just been enacted in the Philippines requiring all students to plant at least 10 trees in order to graduate, something that definitely should be applied worldwide. On average, people today have fewer friends than people did a few decades ago. But at least we have Facebook friends, right? Although I think those do not count. There are more tigers in the state of Texas, in the United States, than tigers living in the wild in the entire world. In Texas, it is very easy to own a tiger. You only need a few permits. It is even easier than owning a dog considered dangerous. The horn shark lays screw-shaped eggs with a spiral design, which helps them get wedged into crevices, making them difficult for predators to reach. Actor Keanu Reeves turned down an offer of $11 million to make the movie Speed 2. Instead, he chose to go on tour with his band and participate in a local theater production in the Canadian city of Winnipeg. Bees can fly at an altitude of 29,528 feet above sea level. That is higher than the summit of Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. A new pond or small lake, whether artificial or natural, can be populated by fish naturally thanks to birds that unintentionally carry fish eggs on their feet or feathers. When actress Margot Robbie was 8 years old, instead of taking ballet or cooking classes, she enrolled in a circus arts school where she took a trapeze course. That certificate apparently helped her film scenes in the movie Suicide Squad, where she played Harley Quinn. Students from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology discovered that if they purchased $600,000 worth of lottery tickets in the city lottery, they could achieve a return on investment between 10 and 15%. Over 5 years, they managed to win $8 million using that method. The British pound sterling is the oldest currency still in use. It is around 1,200 years old. It originated in the 8th century during the reign of King Offa of Mercia, and its name comes from the weight of 1 pound of sterling silver used as a reference. Hippopotamuses can sleep underwater thanks to a special reflex that helps them rise to the surface, breathe, and sink again when they need oxygen. They do all of this without waking up. Cashews, almonds, and pistachios, commonly called nuts, are actually seeds. According to a study, the mode of transportation that makes people happiest when using it is the bicycle, outperforming other modes such as cars, boats, and airplanes. At Disneyland, they have a special color used to paint objects that do not belong or would look out of place, such as water pipes. It is a grayish-green shade specially designed to blend into the background and avoid drawing attention. Albert Einstein once said that the best scientists are also artists. By the way, he played the piano and the violin. When the Aztecs founded the city of Tenochtitlan, the University of Oxford in the United Kingdom had already existed for more than 200 years. The largest pyramid of coins in the world was built using 1 million coins at the Bank of Lithuania Museum in 2014. According to studies, cats that have cardboard boxes to play with are more friendly with people than those that never had boxes. 71% of people between 17 and 24 years old in the United States who are eligible for military service cannot be selected because they do not meet requirements such as physical condition or height. The residents of the town of Shitterton in England got tired of people stealing the town's welcome sign. They replaced it with a stone block weighing 1.65 short tons with the town's name carved into it. The United States is obligated to provide support in the event of war to 87 countries with which it has signed treaties. Our planet is called Earth, but no one knows exactly why or who gave it that name. All the other planets in the solar system are named after Roman or Greek gods. There are approximately 300 people living in the tunnels beneath the city of Las Vegas, some out of necessity and others by choice. A Harvard professor who had Bill Gates as a student called him several times to try to convince him not to drop out of school to start his own programming company in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because he thought it was a waste. In the end, he did not convince him, and that small company became Microsoft. At the restaurant called Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas, where everything is extremely greasy and portions are massive, the only vegan option on the menu is cigarettes. The grasshopper mouse, native to the Sonoran Desert, is immune to scorpion stings and often howls at the moon at night. It has been nicknamed the wolf mouse. A study found that 88% of people spy on their ex-partners on Facebook or other social media. The main reason this happens is because the brain reacts to falling in love in the same way it reacts to addiction. Tim Storms, the man with the deepest voice in the world, can produce a note that humans cannot hear, 8 octaves lower than the lowest G note on a piano. Elephants, for example, can hear that note. The visor used by Geordi LaForge in Star Trek: The Next Generation actually obstructed up to 90% of his vision while filming. The actress with the most money is surprisingly Jessica Alba, who has been acting since she was 13 years old and has appeared in many movies and television series. A large part of her fortune, which amounts to $350 million, comes from founding a company that sells home and baby products that has been very successful. More salt is used to de-ice roads than for human consumption. In total, 8% of the world's salt production is used for this purpose. In the series The Big Bang Theory, they had a real physicist, Professor David Salzberg, as a consultant the entire time to ensure that all the equations written by Sheldon and his friends were correct. In 1996, Mercedes-Benz showed the world the F200, a concept car that did not have a steering wheel. It was driven using a joystick similar to those used in airplanes. It was never mass-produced. Many natural history museums have their own flesh-eating beetles used to clean skeletons that still have tissue residue. This method is better than cleaning them by hand. On October 10, 2017, in just that single day, the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, earned $6.2 billion. Moving your legs, pretending to play the drums, or any behavior like that, which may be considered nervous, can burn up to 350 calories per day. It is more common in thin people. Musician Frank Zappa was an enthusiast of futuristic technologies, so much so that he recorded footage of himself in the 1970s to be used by holographic machines when the technology reached that point. And apparently it has, because his hologram is currently on a world tour. For more than 250 years, we believed there was only one species of giraffe. However, a study concluded that there are 4 different species of these very long-necked animals. The hand of the Statue of Liberty was displayed in Madison Square Park for 6 years before the full statue was installed. It was a gift from France, but the United States did not want to pay for the pedestal, so they raised money by selling photographs to tourists for 50 cents. Shortly after, it was installed as we know it today. 20 years ago, someone placed a pumpkin on top of a tower at Cornell University in the United States during one night, more than 164 feet above the ground. To this day, no one knows how they managed to place it there or how no one noticed such a feat. When Candy Crush was at its peak, the distance traveled by all players' fingers combined in a normal day was measured. It was 458 miles, the equivalent of 2,738 marathons. The largest scale model of the solar system is in Sweden. It is built at a scale of 1 to 20 million and measures 590 miles. In 1991, cosmonaut Sergei Krikalev traveled to space as a citizen of the Soviet Union and returned as a Russian citizen. During his space mission, the collapse of the Union occurred, the creation of Russia, the change of government and president, and even the name change of his hometown. A pineapple contains, on average, 452 calories, 122 grams of carbohydrates, only 1 gram of fat, and 4.8 grams of protein. It also contains 6 times the recommended daily amount of vitamin C. Donating blood can burn around 650 calories. If done regularly, this calorie loss may help prevent heart disease, although you could also exercise. A heavy object can take up to 1 hour to reach the bottom of the ocean in the Mariana Trench, the deepest point in the ocean at 32,808 feet deep. Only 18,000 years ago, on the island of Flores in Indonesia, there were pygmies who were like real-life hobbits, adult humans only 35 inches tall. The reason they were that size is because they were trapped on that island, and over time their height was reduced. Miniature elephants also once lived on that same island. Paul Rudd, the actor who appeared in Friends and plays Ant-Man in Marvel movies and many others, starred in a Super Nintendo commercial in 1991 and somehow looks exactly the same as he does now. He is part of the same Immortals Club as Keanu Reeves. At the German premiere of the movie It, during the credits, a message placed by the company Burger King appeared that said, "The moral is never trust a clown." Epic trolling against McDonald's and its mascot, Ronald McDonald. When the final episode of the show MASH aired around 43 years ago, it was watched by more than 100 million people. When it ended, nearly 7 million gallons of water flowed through New York's sewer system because many people waited to go to the bathroom until the episode was over. Sewer monitors also record a noticeable increase in flow during halftime and at the end of sporting events. When a whale releases its blow, it can reach up to 82 feet high. It is actually warm air and vapor that condenses when expelled through its blowhole, and the height varies depending on the species, being greater in larger whales. There are approximately 24,000 species of butterflies, but moths are more numerous. There are more than 140,000 different species counted around the world. People who experience anxiety more frequently than normal also tend to have a higher intelligence quotient than average. American swimmer Michael Phelps has won more Olympic medals than 80% of all countries that have ever participated in the Olympic Games. An average cloud, like the ones you see daily in the sky, weighs around 551 short tons. Even though they look light and fluffy, they are made of millions of tiny water droplets suspended in the air, kept balanced by upward currents that prevent them from immediately falling as rain. People with anxiety tend to perceive neutral smells as bad smells. This makes them better at identifying unpleasant odors. This happens because their brains are more alert to potential threats, increasing sensitivity to negative stimuli. A study conducted in the United Kingdom revealed that 35% of surveyed adults cannot sleep without having or hugging a stuffed animal beside them. Samuel L. Jackson has a stutter, something he struggled with during his youth until he realized he could pretend to be someone else who did not stutter. That motivated him to pursue his acting career. Statistics have shown that people stop listening to new pop music after age 33. This phenomenon has been called taste freeze. Shakespeare and Pocahontas lived during the same time period and could have met, except they lived a bit far apart. Will Smith's real name is Willard, not William, even though his character in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was named William, so everyone assumed that was his real name. The delivery company UPS uses route optimization software that saves them $100 million per year in fuel costs. It mainly does this by eliminating left turns. Drainage pipes become coated with limescale because rain carries calcium minerals. It filters into the water and accumulates as sediment inside the pipes. Plants know when their leaves are being torn off or eaten. They just do not complain. It is a good idea to treat plants as well as we treat animals. The insurance company Esurance had to get rid of its animated mascot, Aaron Esurance, because inappropriate images of the character created by fans kept appearing. On average, humans have enough carbon to make 900 pencils and enough fat to make 7 bars of soap. If you consume all your daily calories within a 6-hour period, for example from 8 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, your body may burn 6% more fat and help regulate hunger levels more effectively. The famous Wrigley's chewing gum was removed from stores during World War II because all production batches were delivered to the United States Army for soldiers. Left-handed people tend to chew most of their food on the left side of their mouth, while right-handed people chew on the right side. Thomas Jefferson, during his presidency of the United States, had a sheep that he described as an abominable animal. He kept it in front of the White House, where it attacked several people, including a child in 1808. In England, leaving a party without saying goodbye is called leaving French style, but in France, the same act is called leaving English style. Henry Ford wanted to manufacture private, personal airplanes that were cheap and easy to use so that everyone could fly to their destinations daily. Unfortunately, the idea was abandoned when a prototype crashed during a test flight. In the California Bay, where San Francisco is located, families earning less than $10,000 per month are already classified as low income. The difference between fog and mist is that fog is very dense. You can only see a few meters ahead. Mist is lighter, allowing you to see the outlines of houses and mountains. From birth until about 7 years old, the brain region responsible for processing memories is still developing. That is why we remember very little from early childhood. Humans have the protein necessary for detecting magnetic fields, but our brains have no way to decode that information. That is why we do not have that ability that many animals possess. When dogs or cats lie face down with their legs extended, they do it to stretch their hips and cool off when it is very hot. The most successful cartoon that generated the most money for 30 years was The Flintstones, until The Simpsons took first place, which it still holds today. If you own an electric vehicle in Norway, you can receive benefits such as free parking, free ferry rides, and access to special lanes. Norway is one of the countries with the highest number of electric vehicles. During a hailstorm in Bangladesh in 1986, a massive hailstone weighing 2.20 pounds was found. The planning fallacy is the tendency to underestimate the amount of time you need to complete a task. It is what you experience when you think you will finish something very quickly, but end up taking much longer. And do not worry, it happens to all of us. There are people in Japan who are classified as cyber homeless, who live in internet cafes because it is cheaper than renting an apartment. These establishments have free showers and sell underwear. In the United States, it is impossible to be more than 115 miles away from a McDonald's restaurant. The farthest point from any of these restaurants in the country is located in the middle of the Nevada desert. This extensive research was conducted by enthusiast Stephen Von Worley. Venezuela and India are the countries that have won Miss World the most times. Each country has 6 titles in total. This pageant has been held since 1951 and is one of the most important and oldest beauty contests in the world. A Dutch bicycle company placed images of televisions on their shipping boxes to reduce damage during delivery. This method worked very well, and damage was reduced by 80%. There is a very rare genetic variation that allows people to sleep only 2 hours each night without it affecting their health. Nobuo Fujita, a pilot who attacked a small city in Oregon, United States, during World War II, returned years later to present them with a 400-year-old samurai sword from his family as a symbol of his regret. In the Middle Ages, women who talked too much were punished by being forced to wear a type of metal cage on their heads that covered their mouths. Thinking over and over again about conflicts in your work, school, and personal life can affect your mental health and even your physical health. This process, called rumination, is associated with higher levels of stress, anxiety, sleep problems, and increased cortisol production. Personality is a more determining factor for people's success than intelligence quotient.
If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and share it with your friends. Subscribe so you don't miss more interesting content. Leave your comments and click on any of these videos. See you next time.